So we will discuss about the different modes of Cisco switch interface. So each switch interface can operate as an access or trunk port because in typical LAN deployment, there are hundreds or even thousands of switch ports. There is a protocol called Dynamic Trunking Protocol or the DTP that helps network administrator set the operational mode of interfaces automatically. By default, all Cisco switch ports are in operational state dynamic auto, which means that this dynamic trunking protocol or DTP is listening and trying to understand what is configured on the other side of the cable. And based on that to decide whether to become an access or trunk port. For example, if we have a link between switch 1 and switch 2, if we configure the interface on switch 1 to be a trunk port, Dynamic Trunking Protocol or DTP will advertise this to the other side, and the interface on switch 2 will automatically set itself in trunk mode, and a trunk link will be formed between the switches. The following are the different modes. So the number one is switch port mode dynamic auto, default mode for layer 2 interfaces of Cisco switches. This kind of mode is passively waiting to convert the port into a trunk. Dynamic trunking protocol or DTP is listening for messages from the far side saying, let's form a trunk. Becomes a trunk if the other side of the link is configured with trunk or dynamic desirable mode. Switch port mode dynamic desirable. Actively trying to convert the link to a trunk. Dynamic Trunking Protocol or DTP is actively sending messages to the far side saying, let's form a trunk. Becomes a trunk if the other side of the link is configured with trunk or dynamic desirable or dynamic auto. The next mode is the switch port mode access. The interface becomes an access port. Dynamic Trunking Protocol or DTP negotiates the link as a non-trunk link. The next one is switch port mode trunk. The interface becomes a trunk port. Dynamic Trunking Protocol negotiates the link as trunk link. Dynamic Trunking Protocol or DTP is actively sending messages to the far side saying, let's form a trunk. Switch port mode no negotiate. It disables the Dynamic Trunking Protocol or DTP. Interface mode is configured manually. The These are the different scenarios of uh, switch port modes. We have two switches here, the switch 1 and the switch 2. So on the first scenario, the gigabit 01 of switch 1 is configured as dynamic auto, while the switch 2 is configured as dynamic desirable. On this configuration, it will form a trunk. And the second one, the switch 1 is configured as dynamic auto, and the switch 2 is configured as mode trunk. On this configuration, it will form a trunk. The next one is dynamic desirable, and the other side is mode trunk. On this configuration, it will form a trunk. The next one is mode trunk, and the other one is also mode trunk. So on this kind of configuration, it will form a trunk. The next one is dynamic auto, and the other one is dynamic auto. So on this setup, it will never form a trunk. And the last one is whichever mode is configured on the switch 1, and the other side is switch port mode access. On this kind of configuration, it will never form a trunk. So we will try to do the configuration on the actual switch. So from switch 1, we will do dynamic auto, and the other one is dynamic desirable. All right, so I have here on the GNS3, I have two switches, the switch 1 and switch 2. So right now they are on. All right, so uh, we will do the configuration in both. So we'll do the here right now. I have the switch 1 and switch 2 here. Right. Okay. So we will set up a capture on these two switches. Okay. So from our configuration checklist, we will have the first one scenario here, where the gigabit 01 of switch 1 will be on dynamic auto, and the switch 2 gigabit 01 is on dynamic desirable. All right, so we'll just make sure that the switch 1 gigabit 01 gigabit 01, yeah. All right, show run interface gigabit 01. Let me see if it is gigabit 01 on the GNS. All right, let me correct this one here. Delete. So we will use the gigabit 01. All right. Okay. So here we have to start the capture here. All right. Let's close this one. So this one is the one live right now. And then, right. So we have to shut down first the gigabit 01. Shut it down. All right. FP INT gigabit 01. Shut it down. So we have to make sure that there is no configuration on the gigabit 01. So there's no configuration right now, but it's on negotiation auto. All right, show run INT gigabit 01. All right, just to make sure that everything is wiped out on the gigabit 01, we will issue the default command on gigabit 01. Right. Also on switch to gigabit 01, we will issue the default configuration on gigabit 01. So it's been default show run interface gigabit 01. So there's no, as I have said before, that the switch port of the Cisco switches are default into a dynamic auto. All right. So from the switch 1 and switch 2, they are both on dynamic auto right now. As you can see here, the negotiation auto is equivalent to a switch port mode dynamic auto. All right. So here, we have to force it to be on the .1Q protocol. All right. So gigabit 01. So we will do it switch port trunk encapsulation. The encapsulation should be .1Q. All right. also on switch 2, right? So gigabit 01 switch port trunk. In what the encapsulation is that one Q. Okay, so here we will issue the dynamic mode auto. Gigabit 01 switch port mode dynamic auto. Okay, and from the switch 2 we will do it as dynamic desirable. Okay, switch port mode dynamic desirable. If you can see here, you have two options: the auto and dynamic desirable. All right, so we will put it as dynamic desirable on switch 2, and let's see what happened. We will bring up the interface, no shot, and then on the other side also no shot, and let's see what happened with the on the Wireshark on our capture. As you can see here, there's a dynamic trunking protocol ongoing negotiation and between of the two switches. All right, so let's see. Uh, we'll stop this. Let's see what's inside of this dynamic trunking protocol. So here, so this one is on desirable. So this is for the switch 2, and we can see here that the operating type of the switch port of the interface is on 802.1q. All right, that's the encapsulation. Okay, and the operating trunk operating status is trunk, and it's been acquired by a desirable. All right, so how about the other? Let us see the other dynamic trunking protocol here. All right, here. So this one is this packet here is the one coming from the switch one, which is shows auto. All right, and the switch port became as a trunk, and the encapsulation is 802.1q. All right, so if we will see on the switch one show interface trunking, you can see here on the switch one is on auto mode, and the encapsulation is 802.1q, and the status is trunking. All right, and how about on the switch 2? You can see here on the switch 2 port gigabit 01, it says desirable, and the encapsulation is 802.1q, and the status is trunking. Right, so we can also verify another command here: gigabit 01 switch port, and here you can see the dynamic auto, which is the administrative mode of the interface, and the operational mode is trunk, and the encapsulation is that 1q. All right, and how about on all right, so you can see here on the switch 2 also, that the administrative mode of the switch of the interface is desirable, dynamic desirable, which is we configured before, and then the operational mode is on drunk. So both of the switch, both of the switch, the two switch here, the form the trunk. All right, so we have to remember that if the one of the switch is configured as dynamic auto, and the other switch is configured as desirable, dynamic desirable, they will form a trunk. All right, so it's very clear there, right? Let's go to the next one, which is the dynamic auto and switch port mode trunk. All right, so we will leave the switch one as dynamic auto. So let's see. All right, and then we will shut down the interface gigabit 01 again, and then for the switch 2, we will default the configuration of the gigabit 01. All right, then we will configure as a switch, as a mode trunk. All right, we'll force the encapsulation into a .1 queue. All right, then we will shut down first. So switch port mode trunk. All right, so we'll start the we'll start the start capturing. But there's no filter, there's no packet yet, so we'll enable no shot here, and then on the switch one, int gigabit 01 no shot. So what happened? What will happen on both? So we can show here the dynamic trunk protocol, or DTP. Right, so let us see. Show. All right, so we are here. It's on dynamic auto, dynamic. It's on switch. It's on static. All right. It's not on desirable. It's not on dynamic auto bit, but it's on, right? So we can see here that the encapsulation is 802.1q and the status is trunking. Right. So the mode of the switch port is uh, forcedly configured as a trunk. All right, you can see the running config on switch port gigabit 01. It's on mode trunk. All right, let me remove the no negotiate. Let's see. All right. So let us see if the interface is still trunking. Yeah. So we can see here that the interface is still on trunk mode. How about on switch one? Yes. So we can see here that the auto, it's the mode is auto, and the encapsulation is 802.1Q, and the status is trunking. Right. So if we can say that if the configuration is on dynamic auto and switch port mode trunk, it is on, it will form a trunk. All right. So let's examine the let us examine the capture. All right. So here we can see we can see that that the that the switch port is configured as a trunk. All right. And what type of it here? It's O2. The trunk operating type is O2.1Q. That's the encapsulation. Okay. And the administrative status is on, and the trunk operating status is a trunk. This is on the switch two. Okay. How about on the switch one? All right. We can see here on the switch one, it's on auto, right? And the trunk operating status is trunk. And we forcefully configured as the encapsulation should be 802.1Q, right? Good. So next one, the next scenario is dynamic desirable and switch port mode trunk. Okay. So since the switch 2 is on already on switch port mode trunk, we will leave as it is. We will just shut it down for now. So we can have the capture before later. All right. And then gigabit. So we will default the configuration the gigabit 01. All right. So now it's configured. It's on default configuration now. Gigabit 01. No negotiation auto. All right. So we'll configure the encapsulation switch port trunk encapsulation one Q. Then we will put into a mode of desirable, dynamic, desirable. All right. Then we will shut it down for now. Okay. So we'll restart our capture. Oh, ish. Okay, sorry for that. And then start capture. Here we go. So, okay. So we will put, okay. So we will command no shut. So we can see here what is really happening. All right. So you can see the dynamic trunking protocol there. It negotiates uh, after we enable the switch port. All right. So let us see what is the status of the trunking. Show interface trunking. Hmm. Okay. Oh, it's on shutdown. Okay. So we will unshut the gigabit 01 here. No shut. All right. So let us see. So you can see here, there's a dynamic trunk protocol ongoing here. Once after we enable the gigabit 01 from the switch 2. But and we can see here that the gigabit 01 is on trunk mode, and the encapsulation is on 802.1q. All right. The VLAN is the VLAN 1. How about on switch 1? All right. So we can see here that the gigabit 01 is desirable mode, and the encapsulation is 802.1q. All right. So let us see what is the okay. Yeah, this one is coming. This packet is coming from the switch one, where the configuration of the switch port is desirable. All right. Then we can, on the next frame, um, there was a negotiation, right? So the next frame is the switch two is on a trunk mode. No, not the one. Yeah, this one here. Okay, so we can see here that the switch two gigabit 01 is on a trunk, and the administrative status is on. All right, and we can see here that the trunk operating type is 802.1q. That is the encapsulation type, and the trunk administrative type is 802.1q also. All right, so it's very clear that we prove that if the dynamic desirable in switch port mode trunk will form a trunk, right? How about if the switch one will be configured as a mode trunk, and switch two will be configured as a mode trunk as well? What will happen? Okay, so right now the switch port, the gigabit 01 of switch two is configured as a trunk, right here. So we will copy this, and we will put on the switch one. But before we do that, we'll shut down first the interface. All right, and then default nt gigabit 01, then int gigabit 01 will be shut down. All right, switch No negotiation auto. Right, so we'll paste here the configuration as a mode trunk. INT gigabit 01. All right. Then we'll just prepare for the capture. We'll remove the capture here. Oh, start capture. Okay. And then we'll go to the configuration again. So we'll send the command on all sessions. So no shut. Okay. So the first time we enable the interfaces, we can see here that there's a dynamic trunk protocol ongoing. So let us verify the switches if it is really forming a trunk. Show interface trunking. Yes, it's trunking here. All right, you can see here it's on and the status is trunking. How about on switch one? So we can see here that the gigabit 01 is trunking. All right, so it's how about on Wireshark? What we can see from the Wireshark, if we take a look on the Wireshark, right? So the trunk is that the trunk status is trunk and it's on mode on, and the encapsulation is 802.1Q. All right, both also the switch one and switch two. So it is very clear that also if it is a mode trunk on both switches, it will form a trunk. How about if a dynamic auto and dynamic auto on both ends? Let us see. So we will default both of them. So now they are on default. Then shut no int gigabit 01, shut them. Right. And then we will configure as um, switch no, switch port mode dynamic auto. Okay, and then we will prepare our Wireshark again. Okay, then start capture, fresh capture. Right, so Since shut down, no shut. So we'll take a look on the gigabit 01 configuration. So they are on auto. Show run and the gigabit 01. Yeah, they are on both on auto. But I think we never let us see if they are forming a trunk. But there's no negotiation on both of the switches. There's no from the capture on the Wireshark. There's no dynamic trunking protocol happened right in between of the switch one and switch two. So let us verify from the switch what we can see here. Show interfaces trunk, nothing. So there's no trunk ongoing. There's no trunk that has been formed in between the two switches on the switch one and switch two, right? So nothing. So let us see what is the all right. So we can see here that the administrative mode is on a dynamic auto while the operational mode is on access. All right. So it became an access when the switch port is on a dynamic auto. All right. Gigabit 01 switch port. All right. So you can see here the uh, the operational mode is static access or access. All right. So we prove that if the dynamic auto on both of the switches will not form a trunk. All right. So last one we will configure any mode, and we will configure the switch 2 as a access. All right, mode access. All right, so we'll shut down the interfaces. Shut down for now. Then let's go to switch port. So we will default gigabit 01. Okay. All right. So we will make it as dynamic switch port mode access. Okay. So we'll disable the negotiation auto or the dynamic mode auto on the switch on the gigabit 01, and then we will configure the switch port as access. All right. Okay. So we'll just prepare our Wireshark. This one is stop capturing, and then restart the capture here. All right. Then we'll enable no shot on both of the interfaces. Let us see if there will be a trunk to be formed between the switch 1 and switch 2. All right. We did not see any dynamic. We did not see any dynamic trunking protocol happening or captured by the Wireshark. So most probably it will not form a trunk, right? So let's see on, so nothing. There's no trunk here. Nothing to show as per switch number 2. So let us see on switch 1. Show interface trunking. No. Right, there's nothing to show. So we'll verify another command here. We give it 01 switch port. So it says here the operational mode is static access. Right? How about, you can see also here that the operational state, or operational mode of the switch to port number 1 is static access. So it's very clear on this. uh, we prove these scenarios here, right? That uh, there's a combination, or there's a specific configuration for the switch port to be able to form a trunk between the two switches. All right, so yeah, so these are very informative. Uh, lab, this very informative lab that we prove everything. I mean, we prove that we prove the switch ports to have a trunk, and to have an access, to either have a trunk or to have an access port. Right? Hopefully this video is very informative for you and you learn something. Thank you.